This is Radar for On the Radar Entertainment blog, coming to another edition of MLB Observations from the 2022 offseason, going to this year's 2023 season, Week 15 Hotstove edition. So the Brewers officially re-signed John Singleton to a minor league deal. As I've said many times, I was surprised he had an actual roster spot on the 40-man roster when the dude hasn't been good in years, and Houston only was stuck with him because they were paying him all that money. Mets officially outrighted Khalil Lee, the whole domestic thing going on with him. They're like, this dude doesn't make enough money. It doesn't make a lot of money, so we're not going to take any loss there, so let's just take him off the roster. Angels signed Fernando Romero to minor league deal. That's, again, rotational depth. Cards officially outrighted James Nailey after DFA on his birthday. Connor Sastic, Tyler Webb, and Sean Nolan signed minor deal the Twins. Tyler Webb's been around the block, so is Sean Nolan, so those are good organizational pieces for the Twins. The Rays signed Kyle Crick to minor league deal. The White Sox had him last year. He's not bad. Carson Fulmer was with the White Sox, and he has not been good in this major league. Signed a minor deal with the Mariners. Jason Adams won his arbitration hearing, and this dude's a journeyman who came out of nowhere and pitched well for the Rays, so he definitely deserves that. Luke Bart signed a minor deal with the Jays, and Ruby De La Rosa signed with the Dodgers. This guy hasn't pitched with the major league roster in a few years. That's due to injury, pitching overseas. So it's nice to know the Dodgers can take a chance on this guy's arm. J.J. Bleday was traded for A.J. Puck, and that's another young pitcher the A's just said we don't need any more. Because, again, it seems like they're not trying, so yeah. It's just a central one-for-one swap. Kevin Pilecki signed a minor deal to be the Pirates' potential backup catcher, or they could trade him at the deadline. I personally thought he was still the Red Sox backup catcher, but what do I know? He's now on the Pirates. Matt Whistler signed a minor deal with the Tigers, and that former starting pitcher turned reliever would be a good pickup for them to eat innings and flip him. Nestor Cortez has a hamstring injury, so he's definitely pulling out the World Baseball Classic for Team USA. I personally thought he'd pitch for his native country, but, he's technically American, but I was like, everyone should actually play for their country. But, because Team USA has so many pitching options they could potentially go to it. Not everyone wants to, but still. Matt Gage is now on the Astros, and the Blue Jays got rid of him. Reds outrighted Elhaya Lopez. Chase Fry signed a minor deal with the Tigers. That dude is never healthy. Being a White Sox fan, I know that from firsthand. But that's, again, a good move for them. They could always flip him. Diamondbacks DFA, Tyler Holton. Frankie Montas had shoulder surgery and probably, if not completely, missed the whole entire season for the Yankees. That's why I keep saying the Yankees, they spent all the money on Garrett Cole. They gave up prospects for Frankie Montas. They just spent all that money on Carlos Rodon. And Nestor Cortez came out of nowhere. And this rotation is not that good. The Yankees may make the playoffs because they have a good lineup. But it's more of that, again, every single guy pretty much on the Yankees rotation at one point has missed significant time due to injury. And that's coming forward right here with the injury news to Cortez and Frankie Montas. I know this because Frankie Montas was always a highly touted prospect that the White Sox and other teams have had, but he could never stay healthy, and he took steroids. Reds have signed Daniel Norris to minor league deal. Maybe the Reds will give this guy a full chance to start this year, because what are you going to lose? You give him some starts. If it doesn't work out, you make him reliever, and if he's better as a reliever, you can always flip him. Drew second rider signed a minor deal with the A's. They're going to flip this guy at the deadline because they're not going nowhere. Taylor Trammell had a surgery for a hamate bone. Again, this guy is really talented, but can never stay healthy. Corbin Burns and Brady Singer both lost their arbitration hearing, and we heard that Corbin Burns is not happy with the Brewers. I wouldn't blame him. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. Ken Emmanuel signed a deal with the Pirates. Again, organizational depth can flip him. Casey Mize announced that obviously he missed last year due to Tommy John surgery, but he also had back surgery, so that further complicates. And the Tigers are not going anywhere, so there's no rush for him, but you want this young pitcher to be able to pitch. And the Rockies now, Sensatella is going to be back after May from his ACL injury because he's one of the better pitchers the Rockies have. Joe Jimenez announced he had spine surgery last year, so he's going to miss some of the season, so that's not good. Yu Chang signed a deal with the Red Sox, who they had briefly for a bit, and this dude has bounced from Pittsburgh, wherever. I'm surprised the Red Sox gave this super utility man a major league deal. I would not give a guy like this a major league deal. Aramis Garcia signed a minor deal with the Phillies. He'll be third-string catcher because Garrett Stubbs is a very good backup for the Phillies. Harold Ramirez wins arbitration. He's a useful backup outfielder. Luis Rengifo wins arbitration. He had such a good stretch last year that it makes sense. Walker Buehler, Blake Trinan, and J.P. Ferguson, who they only recently got, all the three of the trio are going to start the year in the 6th DL. Buehler may not even pitch all year. Rays added Trevor Kelly to their major league roster, and Killeridge, who also had surgery, is going to be on the 6th DL. Josh Rojas lost his arbitration hearing. Christian Javier signed a 5-year extension. The Astros want to lock up one of their young pitchers. Arash Mandani is out at the Blue Jays broadcast after being there for 14 years, so that's a long time to see that guy leave. Dodgers picked up David Peralta, which again solves the left field problem. They thought that utility man Chris Taylor and journeyman outfielder Trace Thompson was going to be the starting outfield with Mookie Betts. No. Peralta's a good veteran to play left field. Adam Jones announced he's the Black Baseball Initiative for the Hall of Fame. That's a good to see what he's doing, and I guess that means his major league career is over. Dodgers picked up Alex Reyes, the former top prospect of the Cardinals, who was supposed to be this great starting pitching, but they didn't have room, so they said, let's throw you in the bullpen, and was incredible, and then got hurt. The Dodgers get themselves an opportunity for him to be a closer. I don't know if they're going to make him a starter after the injuries he's had, but definitely a reliever. Chapin gone all the way back to the D-backs. He pitched there before. I thought he was going to go to a contender, but he goes to a team that's really bad. I would definitely see him get traded at the deadline. Jeter announced he's joining Fox Sports with A-Rod, David Ortiz, and Frank Thomas. It's good to add someone who actually didn't take steroids, unlike Ortiz and A-Rod, but I don't know if Derek Jeter's personality is big time like Poppy Ortiz and A-Rod and Thomas and Pete Rose back when they were doing it. Those guys have big personality. Jeter seems like he's always quiet even though he played for the Yankees, so it's interesting because they didn't go to broadcast, right? Remember, he wanted to be an executive with the Marlins first. And speaking of the Marlins, they announced to bring back the teal jerseys for those who are fans of that, and I am a fan of those jerseys. Nick Enright announced that he has Hodgkin's lymphoma, so again, prayers out to him. Continue prayers out for Liam Hendricks. Okay? Tom McCarthy, Scott Francie have sent their deals to work with the Phillies broadcast, for those who are fans of them. John Mozeliak has sent his deal with the Cardinals, so the GM makes sense, because they made a lot of good moves. Getting Wilson Contreras away from the Cubs, getting Goldschmidt and Arenado, those have been good moves. I give this guy a lot of credit there. Keith Hernandez signed a multi-year extension stay with the Mets, so he and Gary Cohn and Ron Darling are a chance to break the record. They're with this contract extension that Ralph Kiner had when he was in the booth with the guys he was working with. Makes sense. Big-time player in Mets history. Michael Walker announced he's going to the Padres. See, the Padres are making moves even if it's not good moves. Walker can never stay healthy, but hey, if he is healthy, he's good enough replacement for losing Sean Manaea or Clevenger. That's a good move there. For those who watch Minor League Baseball.tv, you're going to have to only find it on MLB.tv, but for an extra price for those who are fans of that. Randall Grichuk announced he has sports hernia surgery, so hopefully he gets better. Domingo Germán's going to wear number 0 to let Carlos Rodon wear 55. It's interesting to see someone on the Yankees wear 0. If you ever watch Futurama, and they go to a Yankees, Mets game, whatever it is, but it's basically the Yankees, and he's wondering why the robots are wearing, fractions. They're all the numbers have been retired. I'm even 0? Okay. And Bud Black got an extension, which makes sense. The Rockies aren't going anywhere, so it'd be something to, just fire a manager just cause. So just keep the stability there. Katie Nolan and Melanie Newman no longer will be on the Apple TV MLB broadcast. For those who are fans of them, I'm a fan of Katie Nolan. Royals have signed Framil Reyes. I don't get this. This team has Hunter Dozier, Pasquino, and Prado. They got enough slugging guys in their team. I don't want to see Framil in the outfield. It's a liability. Jimmy Nelson's officially resigned with the Dodgers, but the dude hasn't pitched in years, so I'm also surprised he got a major league deal for a guy who's been healthy. AT&T Sportsnet, Regional Sports Network, has been announced they're short on payments to 3 major league teams because they're going through a whole bankruptcy, Chapter 11 thing, so that's not good because they bought all the Regional Sports Network from Fox Sports and other places. Steven Strasburg, they announced as a setback, and what's new? As Tony Cohen calls him, the willow, the orchid or whatever it is, that he's only blooms in the right period of time, and he's never healthy, Strasburg. They obviously were afraid of his injury, so they said, yeah, we're going to shut you down when they had a chance to win the World Series. Good thing they won one, because then they would have been why did we shut him down all those years ago? So it's no surprise. The Nationals are the worst team in their division. The Marlins are lucky that the Nationals are this bad right now. Sir Anthony Dominguez, the Phillies reliever, signed a multi-year extension. That's good. Matt Moore signed a deal with the Angels, and at this point, I guess he's no longer being a starting pitcher in this league, so it'll definitely help the Angels out in their bullpen. Cole Hamels signed a minor deal with the Padres. That dude was going to pitch for the Braves in recent years, but got hurt. He's still trying to come back. So I hope he makes a comeback like Scott Cashman did with the Giants a few seasons ago and actually pitches for them. And they announced that Brandon Gaudin will be the Atlanta Braves' new play-by-play announcer. Congratulations to him. Cardinals will win their arbitration here versus Ryan Hesley. Aaron Ashby is out for a few months due to a shoulder injury, and Jason Alexander is out till May with a shoulder injury as well. So 2 of the Brewers pitchers are out with a shoulder injury, and one shares a name with George Costanza. I'm surprised that Hesley didn't win his arbitration hearing because he was an all-star this year. Victor Martinez announced he joined the Blue Jays front office, so that's the next stage in his career. Congratulations to one of the better hitting catchers of all time. A's brought back Greg Deichmann on a minor league deal. That's good for them. Jose Alvarado signed a 3-year extension, which makes sense because he's a good reliever. Tyler Holton got picked up by the Tigers, who we mentioned was DFA by the D-backs earlier. And Mize, who we mentioned had back and Tommy John, will start the year in the 60-day DL. G-Man Choi lost his arbitrations hearing. And Manny Machado announced he's going to opt out of his deal. He saw the money that Trey Turner got, the money that Dansby Swanson got, that Xander Bogaerts got, and that Tatis got that huge extension, his own teammate, and he got, quote-unquote, paid all that money. Man, if all those shortstops are getting all that money and some of these other infielders are, he's thinking to himself, like, I can opt out and I'm one of the better players in baseball. I can get lots and lots and lots of money. And you know what? He's right. That's a good move there. And Clayton Kershaw is not going to be pitching for Team USA. He decided all of a sudden now to opt out. The rotation is still Brady Singer, Miles Michaelis, Adam Wainwright, and Lance Lynn. Those are the 4 guys, and recently Cortez dropped out as well, so they may have to look for one other guy, but for the most part, that rotation is weak when you compare it to Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, Mexico even. So yeah, that's not the best sort of roster there. And baseball announced some new rules recently that I want to get to. They're going to enhance balk rules in 2023. They want to make it stiffer enforcement of the rules in terms of blocks and illegal pitches. That arguing pitch clock violations will automatically an injection for manager. And so, yeah, for those fans of that, the crackdown on illegal pitches due to the fact that the clock, which allows the pitcher 15 seconds for pitching with the bases empty and 20 with runners on base, is meant to be stopped at the beginning of the pitcher's delivery. They wanted to call a balk, an illegal result in an automatic ball if no one's on base. If a pitcher takes one more step back to the side and is wind up before moving towards home plate. Certain pitchers have been pleased use more complicated deliveries, including multiple toe taps or side taps, but that will no longer be permissible, which is interesting. And so with the pitch clock and stuff like that, so they obviously got the largest bases that they announced before, and the pitch clock is where clocks will be placed around ballparks where hitters and batters can see them. Obviously, you got to stay in the box and face a pitch within 8 seconds, if not to strike. When the bases are empty, pitcher must be engaged in the mound in their pitching motion by 15 seconds. If not, it'll be a ball. With men on base, it's 20 seconds. The clock starts when the catcher and batter are in their positions near home plate and the pitcher has the ball. And then there's 30-second clock between batters. Mound visits will be limited to 30 seconds. So that's a lot of different things for them to go over this year. And the worst thing is the ghost runner. We all understood it during the 2020 season with the pandemic and COVID and taxi squads and all this other stuff, that you're like, it's easier just to have a guy there so we end the inning so we don't got a tax team. And you were like, it prevents injuries by all these extra inning games and shuffling roster. Cool. But so many games that I went to in the last couple of years, immediately the team at the top of the inning had a runner on second base and they scored right away, and the home team was like, crap. Instead of being a tie game, we got to worry about it being a one-run game. And I went to some of those last games, and those are brutal. It's one thing you want to put the ghost runner on first base, but putting him all the way in score position, I think, is really stupid. I don't care if it's shortening game time or if it's shortening the amount of innings. I like to go to a baseball game, and when it ends, it ends. I know, obviously, a lot of times as you get older, you don't want to sit through all these extra inning games. But for the most part, I want the game to end how it's always been ending for the last 100 years. So that's where I don't understand it. And rest in peace to Ted Lerner, the real estate developer and principal owner of the National, has passed away at age of 97 from a Jewish family. So interesting that. And obviously, it used to be the Expos. They moved them over here. They own 90% of the shares. And basically, they're a partner in the Monumental Sports and Entertainment, which owns the Capitals, the Mystics, and the Wizards, including the Capital One Arena, where the Mystics and the Capitals and the Wizards play in. So he had his hand in a lot of things, as he was elected to the Jewish Community Center of Greater Washington Sports Hall of Fame, the Business Hall of Fame in Washington, the Washington, D.C. Sports Hall of Fame, and the American Academy of Achievements Golden Plate Award of Excellence. So rest in peace to Ted Lerner. And the baseball and the world of broadcasting took a huge hit at All-Star catcher Tim McCarver won 2 World Series with the Cardinals and was an All-Star with them and played for the Phillies, Expos, and then went back to the Cardinals, finished his career with the Red Sox, and then back to the Phillies a second time. So he played a lot of his career with the Phillies and Cardinals. Has passed away age of 81. He finished with 271 batting average, 97 home runs, and 640 RBIs. At his point in his career, he considered one of the best catchers in baseball. Not a Hall of Famer in any regard, but a really good player in this regard. And it said he had, due to heart failure, passed away. He also even came out with a cover of jazz music. And what people don't remember is that, yes, he finished his career being a Cardinals announcer. In 2022, he announced his retirement in his own show and stuff like that. But I watched baseball growing up. So I know the history of these are the best players in each of the franchises. So I know that about Tim McCarver, that he's one of the better players in Cardinals history, and he played for the Phillies and all these other teams, is that he caught the call all these World Series games and all these nationally broadcast games where he's in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame. He won 3 Emmy Awards as well. Obviously, he started in the beginning with the Phillies, Richie Asper and Harry Kalas, and he called games with Jack Buck and Joe Buck, which is an interesting thing. And then he worked for the Mets, and then the Yankees and the Giants. But he also began calling games for NBC in 1980. And that, obviously, ABC with Don Drysdale, on Monday Night and Al Michaels and Jim Palmer, under the Baseball America umbrella, and CBS, where I mentioned Jack Buck and Sean McDonough. And then he called the World Series in 85. So I heard a lot of World Series games that were called by him, and I looked up who this guy was, and I was like, oh, this guy had a pretty good career. And they had him as a field reporter for the 85 National League Championship Series. He also started a correspondent, even play-by-play for freestyle skiing in the 88 Olympics. He also had the primetime coverage of the 82 Olympics at CBS. And then I said he worked with Joe Buck on Fox for a role he held from 96 to 2013, so most of my life. And then, obviously, he started arrested by having 13 World Series call in a game surpassing Kirk Gowdy. He called 24 World Series combined for ABC, CBS, and Fox. So, obviously, he left Fox in 2013. And then, obviously, went to the Cardinals. So, it's a big loss to lose a legend like Tim McCarver as a baseball player and a broadcaster. So, I want to end on a light note. Former Marlins, Angel, and Philly slugging first baseman Justin Bour, who finished his career in the KBO, only finished with 92 home runs. He also played in the NBD, but he played overseas. But he finished with only 92 home runs, 303 RBI, 233 average. When he was with the Marlins, they had the Stanton, Ozuna, Yelich, Jose Fernandez, really JT Realmuto teams. They had all these young talent, G. Gordon, and that's when they just flipped everybody. And he stayed there and then went to the Phillies. But he's a big slugging first baseman, so it doesn't give you a lot of defensive value playing in the National League as a first baseman if there's no room at the DH spot. So imagine if he was in the American League or playing the National League with a DH his whole career. He probably would have finished with more than 92 home runs. He's only 34. He probably could have played 5 or 6 years at the DH, but he decided, if I can't get Hackett in the big league, I'm going to go and work in the overseas, because obviously he went to Napone in 2019, and then in the 2021 season, he was on my deal with the Giants, and that obviously didn't work out. And obviously then I said a KBO, and then even in the Mexican League. So in the Mexican League is like one of your last straw. So yeah, happy trails to Justin Bour. Happy trails to Eric Thames, a guy with a similar career projection as someone who destroyed it overseas in KBO, hitting 124 home runs, 382 RBIs, and 349 batting average, all in the KBO. So his career is better in the KBO. And then in Major League, he had a 241 average, 96 homers, and 235 RBI. The former Blue Jays outfielder and Mariner wasn't really cutting it, so he went overseas and had an incredible run there for a couple of years, and that's why the Brewers gave him that deal. Then he went to Washington. It didn't really work out, and then he went overseas to play in Japan, and that obviously did not work out for him either. He barely played there, and then he went back, and then he obviously went back to Major League Baseball and played the A's on a minor league deal, but that didn't work out for him. And in the KBO, he's a 2-time All-Star, the MVP, Gold Glove winner, home run batting champion leader, OPS, OPB leader, slugging leader, and runs leader. So he just incredible run there and salvaged his career as baseball as a whole. And at 36, it's about time. If it didn't work out for you in Japan and, you're not getting a Major League deal, I just remember him coming into the league as an outfielder, the younger brother of Marcus Thames. So it's just really cool that he at least got a salvage career overseas. So happy trails to Eric Thames. And just as I mentioned, I just prayers up for Nick Enright, who now sees non-Hodgkin's. He has Hodgkin's lymphoma, and just hopefully he gets better. And thanks again for listening to week number 15 of the Hotstove edition of the 2022 offseason going into this year's 2023 season. From the Radar Table, I'm Raider. See you guys next time.